Hi everyone. This presentation is about setting up your grade center. I know that a lot of you are already old hat at this. That wasn't a very flattering term. A lot of you are already superstars at this. And so if you can just hang on and go through this with us, with the newbies, that will put you in a position to be able to answer lots of questions for those newbies in your department, and just double check everything that you already have in there. So I am looking at a grade center here that has not been set up. I'm following the handout, 6 steps to setting up the grade center. And so the pre-step was to go ahead and build out the course. So every time you build an assessment in Blackboard, it puts a column in the grade center for it. And you need to use those columns. You can't create manual columns and have grades pulled in from assessments. You can type in grades manually into manual columns that you create, but you can't tie them to an assessment after the fact. So you need to build the course first and let Blackboard create the columns for those assessments. All right, so the next step then, which is actually step 1 in this process, is to decide, are you going to use a points system or a percentage system? Most people use percentage, but we do have a lot of people who use points. Points means that some assignments are worth 50 points, some assignments are worth 200 points, and at the end of the term, a student is expected to have 1,900 points, or whatever all of the assignments add up to. And then you give them the calculation to figure out what 1,900 converts into, or what 1,800 would convert into in terms of a letter grade. All right, so either one is a possibility in Blackboard. When you get your course shell, the total column is the one that is automatically set as the external grade. External grade in Blackboard means the grade that students see as their course grade. And so if you are using a weighted total and not a total, the first thing that you'll want to do is go to the weighted column, weighted total drop-down menu, set as external grade, and that moves the green check from the total column to the weighted total column. And then if you're not going to use this, just delete it. All right, so now I have my weighted total set as the external grade. I've got all of my assignments in the class. I have an idea in my head of what percentage all of these assignments should be worth, but they're not set yet in this weighted total column. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is assign categories to my assignment. So I'm going to go to Manage. I'm going to go to Categories. All right, so I can see here that the bulk of my assignments are in the test category. I've got 1 assignment in my discussion category and 1 assignment in my assignment category. And if this were a real course, I would go through and change most of these, but I set it up this way just for demonstration, so that I have 3 categories that I can work with. But I also want, in addition to the tests, the discussions, and the assignments, I want the final exam to count as well. And what I'm going to do in this course for the final exam is have them post a link on a discussion board of a video that they do. And so even though it's going to be a discussion, I don't want it in the discussion category. I want it in the final exam category. So I'm going to create a category. I'm going to call it final exam. Right, nothing's in there yet. And you'll notice that the Blackboard default categories don't let you delete them or change them. You can change what's in them. You don't have to add anything to them. You don't have to use them at all, but you can't delete them or rename them. This one that I called final exam, I can click on it here to delete it, or I can change the name of it by clicking on the options menu. All right, but I'm satisfied with the name of it. So I'm going to go here and I am going to pretend like this is the discussion that is going to have their video links posted on it. And so I am going to edit the column information. And in the grade book, I want this one to be called final exam. So I remember that that's which discussion this is. And then I'm going to go down to the category and change it to final exam. All right, now the next step I'm going to take is just to double check. I'm going to go to manage. I'm going to go to column organization. All right, some of these columns at the top get in my way when I'm trying to view the grade book because there's so much scrolling to the right and I want more to fit on the screen. I don't need to see their username every time. I don't need to know that they're a student every time. I do want to know the last time they logged in. I don't want to see that availability column every time. And so I'm going to hide those in the grade book. That gives me more real estate in the grade view. All right, so now I can see what all of my columns are. If I need to rearrange things, I can just drag the position of them here. I can see what category everything is, whether I've set due dates for them, which I don't put the due dates in Blackboard. I just put them on that printable assignment calendar that they have in the Start Here section because I find Blackboard dates difficult to deal with. All right, and I've got my final exam in the final exam category. So I'm going to submit that. All right, another option, if I were going to do something that were not in Blackboard, let's say they had to create something, a portfolio on a different website or a project on Flipgrid or in Prezi or something that they sent to me. Most of those things, I still have them post on a discussion board, but let's just say they were emailing me the link and so there was not going to be anywhere in Blackboard for me to grade it. I could create a column here, call it anything I want to, put it in any category I want to, and then just put in the grades manually for it. All right, so my next step then is to go back to my weighted total, and I'll just show you. I won't go anymore because I deleted all of those other student user ID and things that were there. All right, so I'm going to go to my weighted total, edit column information. And some people like to call this class average or something other than weighted total, which is not a bad idea. And then I'm going to tell it to count everything in the assignment category. Everything in the final exam category. Everything in the test category. And everything in the discussion category. Right? If I wanted to put in a column for, let's say they did a lab, and I didn't ever put that lab thing in a category, but I've got the column up here, I could pick up a column to add over into here to count as a percentage as well. All right, but for this, I'm just sticking with categories. Final exam, this video, remember, the proctored events have to total at least 25% of their final average. I'm going to count it 30%. My tests are not secure. They're not really assessing that much. So they're going to count 20%. My discussions are lengthy, take a lot of time, a lot of work. We're going to count 30%. And the assignments then will count 20%. All right, let me just click off of there to get that weighted total to change to 100%. That always has to be 100%. I'm going to leave the running total at yes. So if I put no in there, that would mean that the student starts with all zeros. And every grade they get calculates into, or so if they get one grade that's worth 2% of the weighted average, then they've got 98% as a score of 0 and 2% whatever that grade is. So they're starting from a 0 and working up if you put it at no. If you leave it at yes, then they're starting at a blank slate. So if they get an 82 on the first grade, their average in the class is going to be an 82 until they get more grades. Right, and Blackboard won't ever put in zeros for you automatically unless you change this to not be a running total. You need to put in the zeros when they miss deadlines on your own. All right, this one's kind of confusing to me. Include this in the grade center calculations. Well, I don't really want the weighted total to count as another calculation, but it doesn't. It doesn't matter if you put this one as yes or no. So I just always leave it at yes. Yes, I do want to show it to students. They do need to be able to see what their grade is in the class. And statistics is kind of interesting. You can set it so that students can see where they fall in terms of the class averages. They can't see other people's grades, but they can see that they have an 82, the class average is an 88. Maybe they're not working to quite the level that they ought to be. Or, you know, they have a 82, but the class average is a 78, so they're doing better than they felt like they were doing. So I do like to let them see that. So I submit that, and ta-da, the grade center is ready to go. I just have to remember that When I add more assignments, I need to put them in the right categories if I want them to count into that weighted total. And to check that, I can always hover over the title of a column and it will show me the points possible on that assessment. Lots of times when people ask me, why isn't my grade calculating right? It's because they have something that is set to be worth 50 points or 150 points, and they were expecting it to be counting the same as everything else. Right, so I can check what my points possible is. The second line there where it says test, that's the category that it's in. Then I've got the name and how many students have attempted it and how many need grading. So that's what you can do with the grade book to get it all set up. If you have assignments in there that were copied over from an old course or something that you don't want anymore, as long as they are deleted from the classroom section, you can go to manage, column organization, select the ones that you no longer want in the grade book and delete them from here. If they're still in the classroom somewhere, then you won't have the option of deleting them here. You'll have to go into the classroom and delete them. And that should take care of the column. That should delete the column as well. But if not, then you can come back to the grade center and delete them. Right here, when you're selecting show hide, you're only show hiding from the instructor. And so if you want to hide it from the student, then you have to go here and hide from the student, and then you can hide it from the instructor. All right, that's the basics of the grade book. Thanks, y'all.